Welcome to another edition of the Texas Tech Hoop Scoop. I'm Jarret Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, thanks for opening up your house to us. We're here in your dining room, here in the Lion's Den basketball savant, Red Raider basketball savant, Mr. Mighty Joe Yeager. How are you doing today, man?
Doing good, doing good. Coming off of another win. It seems like every time we do one of these things, they're coming off of a win. Why is that? They're undefeated, all these hoop scoops are good, and I'm in a good mood.
You mentioned it. The Red Raiders are 9-0 now. They crushed Northwestern State. I think they were a 38-point favorite, so they were expected to beat them. Great first half. Red Raiders, like I said, 9-0, have won every game by double digits. But you're kind of at least pumping the brakes on the happy, joy. Why is that, Joe?
Yeah, well, first off, Tech has convinced me beyond any doubt that they are an upper half Big 12 team. I think that is established. You're talking top five, no questions about it. But, I think that the people around this program and the fans have bigger fish to fry. I mean, there's people who are expecting this team at this point, the way they've started out, to contend for a Big 12 title. And to make another run, maybe similar to last year, which before the season, if you'd said this sort of stuff, they'd shipped you off to the... Yeah, right. So, but yeah, that's the way the expectations, every time you win a game and you move higher up the rankings, and the net ratings are I believe 4 in the country right now. That's what's replaced the RPI for selection purposes. For the NCAA tournaments. They're like number 4 in the country. You get stuff like that going on, and people get kind of drunk on this, and they really expect great things. And what I'm just saying is while that is all that is possible, I've just seen enough lately to concern me a little bit with Texas Tech on the offensive end. Yeah. Not this previous game, but the game before that against Pine Bluff. Mm-hmm. Tech really struggled against the zone defense that those guys ran. Just never really got in sync and never really blew out that team the way you would expect them to. I think Tech won by 18 or 19. And then last night, just complete annihilation. That game was over immediately. There's no question about that. But you still had your starters in for, maybe the first 8 minutes of the second half, which surprised me a little bit because if you'll remember, those of you who saw the game, Tech actually put basically the walk-on guys and the people at the lower end of the bench in that game, the final 2 to 3 minutes of the first half. Oh, wow. They were in there, and so I thought that was going to be the case for the rest of the game, but he brought the starters back in to start the second half, and I thought, okay, well, that's a little bit unusual, but they're only going to play a minute or two. Right. But they played for 6, 7, 8 minutes of that first half, and during that period, there were some issues that Tech had at the guard position. And basically I'm talking about Mooney and Moretti. I thought that Northwestern State got really aggressive on the defensive end, started pressuring hard on the ball, and Matt Mooney was having some real problems beating these guys off the dribble, which was hurting Tech's offensive flow a little bit. And then Morrow, this is a guy who I think the situation with him is he's got to get physically stronger. Yeah. Because again, they were playing more physical defense in that second half, and I thought Morrow struggled a little bit with that, maybe got just a little bit flustered, had a bad turnover on an inbounds play. And so what I'm saying is that at the guard position right now, I think maybe Tech has some issues on the offensive end. And that is, if you got a weakness in the Big 12, they're going to come after that. Yeah. They're going to see the same thing that I'm seeing on film, and they're going to see it better than I am. So look out, and that's just something that you need to keep an eye on.
How do you counter that? Do you put the ball in Culver's hands and make Mooney and Moretti more spot-up shooters in that scenario, or what would you do, Joe?
That's a possibility of that, and Brandone Francis is very good on the ball. Yeah. I think he may be the best passer on the team. Now Mooney is also a very slick passer, but he's got a pretty high turnover rate as well. Yeah. And I think you could see Francis playing a little bit of a role there as more of a point guard type of a guy. Even though Coach Beard says they don't really have a true point guard, you still need somebody, in my opinion, who you can rely on to facilitate the offense, even in that motion that they run. So you may see some of that. I think you're going to see a guy like Tariq Owens become more of a factor and an option on the offensive end now because he's beginning to show a little bit of a jump shot. Okay. And you combine that with his ability to go inside and do things around the rim. And if they got to respect him outside, that's going to open up some things too. And then you can't forget about Deshaun Corporeau, who has just turned into a really dead-eye shooter.
Love Corporeau.
Yeah, everybody's loving Corporeau right now. That guy's playing 15, 16 minutes a game.
Should be 25.
Yeah, you're going to be adding 10 minutes to that before too long, I think, because you're going to have to do some things on offense that you don't necessarily have to do to beat Northwestern State, but you will if you're going to want to beat Kansas and Iowa State and those teams like that. So I think you're going to see some changes with Texas Tech's offense once you get into the Big 12, and hopefully those changes will make the difference.
All right. Well, first up, you have Abilene Christian, who's 9-1, really good Abilene Christian team. They're coming to Lubbock to play in the Throwback game there in the old Coliseum. Just first off, what do you think about the game? And then give me one of your fondest memories of being there as a fan at the Coliseum.
Yeah, it's, I think that Texas Tech is, Chris Beard always talks a good game about respecting your opponent and everything like that. But, some opponents you respect more than others, as much as they might try to deny that. That's the reality. And I go back to press availability for the Northern Colorado game earlier this season. Now, you may say Northern Colorado, all right. But that team at that time was undefeated, I believe, and they were killing people on the offensive end. And at that press conference, Coach Beard was brooding. I mean, there was a mood about him. Like, yeah, he was like, really, and he said it. He goes, listen, this team concerns us, and we're on edge about this team. And what happens? They go out there and play, outside of maybe the Nebraska game, the best game they played all year. I mean, it was a full 40 minutes, or close to 40 minutes, of really, really good basketball. They blew that game open early and then didn't have any collapse in the second half, won by 32.
That's a common theme, and you've pointed this out in a lot of your Yeager shots and your stories, is that when this team plays a tough opponent and when they're on, they're really good. It seems like when they get bored or, I don't know, undisciplined is what a word that Beard used earlier in the week, that's when they get in trouble. But when they're nervous about someone or brooding, like you said, when someone's got their attention, this team has been really good so far this year.
Yeah, when Tech gets nervous, the opponent better be nervous. And I think they're going to be a little bit nervous about Abilene Christian. I mean, Coach Beard at the press conference last night was saying, listen, Abilene Christian is a really good team. They won 4 games on the road, and playing good is not going to beat these guys. We're going to have to play great to beat them, because they're going to come in here and they got a chance to beat us. So I think, again, you're going to see a Tech team that has the right focus for this one. And the only thing that you kind of worry about a little bit is, the event itself, the last game in the storied arena, all these Texas Tech luminaries from the past coming back into town, is that going to be a distraction? Is the team going to try too hard, to put on a show for everybody, And because I think that was, Coach Beard believes that was a little bit of a problem with the Throwback game last year against Rice. They won by 20, but they were down by 10, against Rice, and that was not a very good Rice team. So they're going to try to correct for that this year and try probably some sort of a little bit of different approach to this game. And, I think they're going to be right, and I think they're going to roll.
All right, give me one of your favorite memories from the Coliseum.
Boy, I think this was the 82-83 year. And you old guys like me may remember that this was the team that Gerald Myers kicked off 3 of his starters. Okay. And I really wrote an article about this, I think. And it was the 3 starters that were kicked off were Dwight Phillips, Joe Washington, Charles Johnson. That's a big part of your team right there, out the door. And you're left with 8 scholarship players, 4 of them are freshmen.
Wow.
And now they were struggling mightily. And you thought this is just going to be a miserable year. And it was during non-conference. But that team gelled together. And once they got into conference play, they started playing pretty good. Won 7 conference games, actually, out of 16. They went 7-9. And they played SMU here in Lubbock. And that was a good SMU team. And I have never been in an arena, an environment, a college basketball game that was as frenzied as that one. Because the officiating for that game was just bizarre. It was unbelievable. I mean, the people today remember this. I mean, it was like the officials were just going out of their way. And Gerald Myers and SMU coach Dave Bliss almost got into a fight at mid-court because of this. Dave Bliss. ultimate crook. You know, you look his record up, and it's not very pretty. But they almost started going toe-to-toe there at midcourt.
Wow.
People were throwing stuff in the stands, jumping around, screaming, just beside themselves. And Tech was playing against all odds. SMU, everything they wanted, and that game, despite the officials, just flagrantly in favor of the Mustangs. Tech was in it right to the finish. I think wound up dropping that game by 2 or 3 points. And so it had a sad ending, but it was just an environment that I'm not sure I'll ever experience again. And I hope I don't, because I'm down on Press Road now, and I don't know how I'd be able to control myself if that sort of situation arose again.
It's a challenge. I've been with you on Press Row before, where it's like I gotta like hold them back. It's been crazy, but hey, one more ride at the Coliseum. Looking forward to it. Abilene Christian. Real quick before we get out of here, I don't think we'll have a chance to do another one of these videos before Duke. I'm going up to New York to cover the Tech Duke game at Madison Square Garden. What's your thoughts going into that matchup?
Yeah, boy, that's obviously one that Tech has been looking at ever since it got on the schedule.
Sure.
You know, I think in a lot of ways, this entire season has just been kind of a preamble to that huge game.
And then Big 12 play.
And then Big 12 play jumps in very soon after that. And so this is going to be the marquee game of the weekend for college basketball, I think. Tech will probably be a top 10 team. Duke could even be rated number 1. There'll be 1, 2, 3, something like that. It's going to end the Big Apple. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more. And I expect Texas Tech to give a very good account of themselves. They'll be very dialed in. There won't be any playing down to the level of the guy or any sort of loss of focus. You know, they're going to go in. That would be the only team that Tech is going to play this year where you might think the other team would have a psychological edge over Tech, just from an intimidation sort of a factor. Usually it's Tech that does that to the other guys. But with Duke, it's going to be the other side of the spectrum there, so it'll be interesting. They'll be going into that game kind of like they went into Villanova last year. You know, a clear underdog. I think Tech was, a 6-point underdog to Villanova, something like that. I expect it to be something like that against Duke. But Tech will be ready to play. And I think it's going to be a very competitive game. You know, I've got a feeling that Tech may jump out to an early lead. And I could see Tech jumping out to a 10-point lead or something early on in that game. I expect Duke to even things up and make it very competitive. And then we'll just see how it goes down the stretch.
I'm looking forward to it. If it holds up, if this team holds true as far as the way it's played so far, then they're going to play Duke very well. So that's what I'm expecting, and I can't wait. It's a bucket list thing for me just to go to Madison Square Garden and see a basketball game played. The fact that it's Texas Tech versus Duke, man, I feel like I'm in heaven. So I'm really excited about it, and look forward to seeing how, first off, they play Abilene Christian in the Coliseum. We'll be at that game. That'll be fun. And then, of course, that game against Duke. But Mighty Joe, man, great stuff from you as always. Thank you. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.